phone rings, and he said, "I just want to wish you a great show and to tell you that I love you."
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most emotional and soul-bearing interviews with celebrities.
I was a problem. I was a liability, seen as. And how are we going to deal with her? This hasn't happened before.
Number 20, Matthew Perry.
And I lay in the grass and just was in heaven. And I thought to myself, this must be the way that normal people feel all the time.
Most people know this actor as the hilarious Chandler on Friends, but few of them were aware of his behind-the-scenes woes. In this ABC interview with Diane Sawyer, Matthew Perry was especially candid when describing his alcohol use disorder and prescription drug dependency.
Well, I had to wake up and realize that I needed to get 55 of them, or I was going to be really sick. So I did all sorts of things. I had a bunch of doctors, fake migraines and all that stuff.
Along with revealing the medical emergency that served as a serious wake-up call, the actor told Sawyer about the decisions that threatened his life and career. In hearing everything that he's been through, viewers will no doubt come away with an appreciation for his vulnerability and openness.
For some reason, it's obviously because I was on Friends, more people will listen to me. So I've got to take advantage of that. I've got to help as many people as I can.
Number 19, Giselle Buin. It should be obvious, but it isn't always. Regardless of a person's social standing or professional status, mental health struggles can affect anyone. In 2018, supermodel Giselle Buin brought to light the difficulties of living with anxiety.
The beginning was airplanes, then it was elevators, then I couldn't go on tunnels. Then I decided I wasn't gonna get on cars anymore. I was just gonna ride my bike to her. I mean, I became like, the world became smaller and smaller and smaller.
The interview delved into her personal battle with panic attacks and negative thinking patterns. In the most heartbreaking moment, Buin teared up as she came to grips with her past.
And then, sorry. It's hard. Yeah. Do you have any Kleenex?
You could tell she'd been through so much just by her tone of voice and delivery. Anyone thinking that she'd had a perfect life just because of her appearances will have a change of heart after seeing her on Access Hollywood.
As I thought that thought, I came back to myself and I was like, what am I thinking? I was so upset at myself, and I realized I really had a big problem.
Number 18, Terry Irwin. Considering her life's work, Terry Irwin, the widow of the late Steve Irwin, has done so much for the world of conservation efforts and rehabilitation. She mentioned in a 2018 interview that she hadn't quite moved on from her husband's passing.
So I might be talking to biology students and it'll remind me of Steve and I'll burst into tears. You don't ever get over grief. It changes, but you never wake up one morning and go, well, I'm done with that.
Given the unique way everyone processes loss, her reaction is completely understandable. The nature of Steve's death was also very sudden, which, unsurprisingly, only caused additional heartbreak.
It was like, what do I do next? So I kind of collected my thoughts, and then I had to go out to the car and tell Bindi and Robert, which was really hard.
Irwin refers to her husband as her soulmate, and if you've ever heard the story of their meet-cute, you'll probably agree. It, of course, only makes the whole story that much sadder.
And in the 10 years since, I haven't dated or even thought about it because I'm not afraid to be on my own.
Yep.
It's just really hard not having Steve. I'm just lonely for Steve, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Number 17, Billy Crystal.
I hate saying he was. It's not even been 2 months.
Yeah.
And it's just so odd for everybody.
In a special one-on-one interview on The View, Billy Crystal joined host Whoopi Goldberg to talk about his career and their mutual friend Robin Williams. Both performers were clearly and justifiably shaken up by Williams' untimely passing. Reminiscing about the past, Crystal shared many fond memories of their time in comedy together and expressed his inability to properly categorize or eulogize the Good Will Hunting star.
That's why I tweeted then, I just wrote no words.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any.
No.
I just had pain.
The interviewee and presenter also shared a moving moment of silence for Williams. It's completely devastating, even today. We can't imagine how difficult it was to watch for audiences at the time that it aired.
I'm glad it was, that people responded to it.
Yeah.
It helped me get through you know, what we were all going through.
Yeah.
Number 16, David Spade.
That she made you laugh out loud, and David, you make us laugh out loud.
Thank you.
Thank you for your humor, and thank you for...
Naturally funny in anything he does, David Spade brought the very same energy to this Good Morning America segment. He spoke about his book and threw in a few jokes before the interviewer mentioned his sister-in-law, Kate Spade, who had taken her own life just a month before this interview.
How's the family doing?
As good as we can. Yeah. It's been very tough, obviously.
The loss clearly took its toll, and he thanked Robin Roberts for the tribute to his relative. It was a brief and subtle moment that revealed the obvious love he holds for his family. The performer also showed that it's okay to both grieve and celebrate loved ones after death.
But she was such a beautiful, lovely, great spirit that obviously will be missed. I'll start bawling, but yeah.
Number 15, Avril Lavigne. In a rare discussion about her health, the Canadian singer divulged the devastating effects she experienced as a result of Lyme disease. She went into detail about her illness in a profile that couldn't be more heartbreaking.
I literally became bedridden last October, and I was in Los Angeles, and it was literally the worst time of my life.
Reliving doctor visits, the star became emotional as she described the medical community's confusion over her symptoms. The segment also referenced the fan support for her through one of her lowest moments.
I sat there in my bed and I watched the videos and did exactly what I'm doing right now. I cried through the whole thing, and I honestly felt very, very loved.
After seeing all the people sending positive thoughts to Lavigne, you might end up crying along with her. Her perseverance through it all made for a moving story and an eye-opening interview.
I think for me, it's like a second shot at life. I want to go out there and truly do what I love.
Number 14, Lady Gaga.
It's a really very real thing to feel like there's a black cloud that is following you wherever you go.
In an interview from The Me You Can't See, the artist described the awful events that transpired in her teenage years. These included being propositioned and assaulted by a member of the music industry. While discussing her PTSD diagnosis, Lady Gaga brought into focus the long-standing effects of her trauma and said she was still not comfortable identifying her abuser.
I understand this Me Too movement. I understand that some people feel really comfortable with this, and I do not. I do not ever want to face that person again.
It's almost too overwhelming to watch, but Gaga didn't hold back in her honest portrayal of events and the reaction she had. Ultimately, she shared her story as a part of her own healing process and in order to promote an open dialogue about these sorts of crimes.
You can come back from things like that, but when it hits you really hard, it can change you.
Number 13, Warren Zevon.
I guess a couple of months ago, we all learned that your life has changed radically, hasn't it?
You mean you heard about the flu?
Yeah, kind of about the flu.
After receiving a terminal diagnosis, singer Warren Zevon appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman to perform. He was largely in good spirits considering that he was dealing with a serious bout of lung cancer. Willing to talk about his health and even make a few light jokes, Zevon drew us in with his genuineness and what seemed to be complete and total acceptance of his situation.
I think that I chose a certain path and lived like Jim Morrison and then lived 30 more years. Who knows why?
Yeah.
Do you make choices and then you have to live with the consequences. There are always consequences.
Before providing a farewell performance, the songwriter also gave some great advice to the audience about life. It's the kind of candid moment that rarely happens on late-night television.
I really always enjoyed myself, but it's more valuable now. You're reminded to enjoy every sandwich and every minute of playing with the guys and being with the kids and everything.
Number 12, Stephen Colbert.
What punishments of God are not gifts? Do you really believe that? Yes.
Many people know Stephen Colbert as a funny talk show host. For this interview with Anderson Cooper, the comedian sheds his usual persona for a much more grounded conversation.
You've spoken very publicly about what you experienced as a kid, and a lot of it I didn't know. I think a lot of people don't know. So if you don't mind, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about it and sort of how it has shaped who you are now.
Each man talks about the tragedies of their lives, and we get to hear Colbert speak on the tragic loss of his father and brothers. His philosophy of grief ends up being an enlightening moment that transcends the typical TV conversation.
It's a gift to exist. It's a gift to exist. And with existence comes suffering. There's no escaping that.
Cooper is taken aback by the poetic words, underscoring the powerful message at the heart of this discussion. By the end, it's just wonderful to see two men talking about losing loved ones in such a frank and vulnerable interaction.
What's the point of being here and being human if you can't be the most human you can be? I'm not saying best, because you're going to be a bad person and a most human. I want to be the most human I can be. And that involves acknowledging and ultimately being grateful for the things that I wish didn't happen.
Number 11, Chadwick Boseman. While talking about the impact of Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman discussed the impact of the film on fans.
You're like, this can't mean that much to them, you know, but seeing how the world has taken us on, seeing how the movement is, how it's taken on a life of its own, I realized that they anticipated something great.
The performer choked up as he talked about two young cancer patients he was in contact with while filming. He put himself in the shoes of a child looking forward to something and really deeply commiserated with them.
I did live life waiting for those moments. And so it put me back in the mind of being a kid, just to experience those two little boys' anticipation of this movie.
Knowing now that Boseman was himself battling the disease and kept it a secret, it's difficult to imagine the depth of his feelings at that moment. He took an extended pause to collect himself in a moving display of emotions, and it's enough to bring us all to tears.
Yeah, it means a lot.
Number 10, Angelina Jolie. In an emotionally raw interview with National Geographic, the American actress and filmmaker was asked about the moments and people that made an impression on her over the years. In response, Jolie related her first humanitarian trip to Sierra Leone and her encounter with a 10 or 11-year-old at a transit center with a gunshot wound that rendered him unable to move his legs.
I can't explain it. He was a healthy kid about a year before that. He'd gotten shot, and then he started to lose the ability to move his legs. And so he was moving them with his hands.
Being one among thousands and considered a hopeless case, he was left untreated.
I found out that they said he was probably just going to die because of the reality of how many people were in that situation.
Tearing up, Jolie recalled feeling completely helpless, but also how it helped her realize that every individual counts.
Every individual does count, so that's what that makes me think.
Number 9, Kendrick Lamar. In this brutally honest interview, viewers had the chance to see a very different side of the rapper and songwriter. Kendrick Lamar had enjoyed tremendous success in his career, with no fewer than 13 Grammy Awards to his name.
But these things happen. My release therapy is writing the music, and this was one of the records that came about.
But in this MTV interview, he opened up about experiencing depression and suicidal thoughts, both on tour and at home.
It all psychologically, it messes your brain up because you live in this life, you know what I'm saying, but you still have to face realities of this.
Delving into his darkest moments and how they've affected him, Lamar spoke soberly about how music became his therapy and about feeling a sort of survivor's guilt over his success, particularly after the murder of 3 close friends.
I can either pimp this situation or I can fall victim to it, you know what I mean? And that was a turning point.
Number 8, Diane Guerrero. When she was just 14 years old, this American actress and author had to deal with the sad reality of coming home to find her parents gone. In an interview on CNN, Guerrero revealed how her parents tried to prepare her for the possibility that they could be deported, and her memories of the day it finally happened.
And I got home and their cars were there and dinner was started and the lights were on, but I couldn't find them.
Although many years have passed since the day that Guerrero hid under her bed, hoping that the police wouldn't have come for her too, some of the saddest moments in this CNN interview came when she revealed that although she now sees them yearly, she still sometimes feels as if she didn't really know them anymore.
It's difficult because I've grown up without them, and there's things about them that are new that I don't recognize, and it hurts.
Number 7, Tracy Morgan. In a tear-jerking interview with the Today Show's Matt Lauer, beloved actor and comedian Tracy Morgan told all. After a horrifying car accident that left him in a coma, Morgan woke up to discover that his close friend and mentor, James McNair, had been killed in the crash.
He was a good man. It just hurts me to see that he's gone. That's it.
Afterwards, Morgan confessed he would watch the incident and McNair's funeral on YouTube repeatedly until he lost it.
One day, I came across his funeral on YouTube, and I lost it for about a week.
Morgan also spoke freely about how the accident affected him physically, confessing to Lauer that he still suffers from memory loss, headaches, and nosebleeds.
There are times where I got the headaches and the nosebleeds, and I won't even let my lady know because I don't want her to be worried about it.
Number 6. Meghan Markle. In a series of intense interviews with the royal couple, ITV's Tom Bradby revealed a lot going on under the surface. Prince Harry spoke emotionally about his trauma over the death of his mother and his pain at the constant mistreatment his wife experiences.
I will not be bullied into playing a game that killed my mum.
But it was even more heartbreaking to hear from the Duchess of Sussex herself. In a telling interview, Markle talked about her struggles with the British tabloids, especially as a newlywed and new mother.
Thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay, but it's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes.
You can't help but feel for the Duchess, who's clearly feeling vulnerable, as she reveals that she is not really okay.
Would it be fair to say not really okay, as in it's really been a struggle?
Yes.
Number 5. Britney Spears. At 21 years old, this best-selling teenage artist of all time sat down with Diane Sawyer in 2003 for a tell-all interview. Sawyer certainly didn't pull any punches.
I have to ask a couple of things about Justin.
Okay, of course.
Things got notably difficult for Spears when Sawyer brought up her recent breakup with Justin Timberlake, who Spears said she imagined she would spend the rest of her life with.
I will always love him. He'll always have a special place in my heart.
Although she admitted that Timberlake was not wrong in accusing her of being unfaithful, Spears couldn't hold back the tears when his name came up and begged for the interview to stop.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Ew, I'm embarrassed. Can we stop?
Number 4. Rihanna. Although she never broke down in tears, the emotion was palpable in the face of the award-winning Barbadian singer and actress.
We love each other and we probably always will.
In her interview with Oprah, Rihanna revealed that although she and her former flame, Chris Brown, were not in a relationship anymore, he was her first love and will probably always be the love of her life.
He was the love of my life. He was the first love. And I see that he loved me the same way.
In a particularly touching moment that will resonate with anyone who's ever had to end things with someone special, she confessed that she'd be crushed if he is ever lonely or unhappy, and that she just wants him to be at peace.
The main thing for me is that he is at peace. You know, I'm not at peace if he's a little unhappy.
Number 3. Ariana Grande. Shortly after Ariana Grande's concert ended in Manchester on May 22nd, 2017, a terrorist attack hit the arena, causing multiple deaths and over 500 injuries.
You got pretty emotional, and I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it.
It sounds like so hard, whatever you want.
In a subsequent interview with Beats One radio station, Grande was asked to talk about her song Get Well Soon, created as a response to the anxiety and trauma she experienced after the attack.
You know, some dark shit out there, man.
It is.
So we just have to, be there for each other as much as we can.
She relived much of those raw emotions in the interview, and she discussed the song's deeper meaning. As the title suggests, Get Well Soon is all about being there for one another, the musical equivalent of a hug.
I feel like the lyrics can be kind of corny when I talk about, wanting to hug you and stuff, but, I really do.
Number 2, Celine Dion. Although Dion has given a lot of emotional interviews, there are perhaps none as heartbreaking as this unaired clip from The Sunday Project.
I could hear him because I was expecting him. No one calls me in my dressing room but my husband.
In it, Dion recalled her last conversation with her husband, René Angelina, a quiet phone call in her dressing room in which he told her he loved her and wished her a good show. She also related going home that night after her concert and not going in to see him before his passing, a decision that has clearly weighed heavily on her.
Why didn't I go? I should have. You cannot, because you will always live with regrets, and you can't. It's not me. I can't.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Princess Diana. The life of Lady Diana reads like a Greek tragedy, culminating in the devastating car accident that claimed her life in August 1997. Especially in hindsight, there's something particularly heartrending about her BBC One Panorama interview, broadcast in November 1995.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
In it, she chronicled the struggles of living in the royal family, dealing with an unfaithful spouse, and living with constant public criticism and media attention.
They see me as a threat of some kind, and I'm here to do good.
Although she didn't feel like she would ever be queen, all she wanted was to be a queen of people's hearts, and that's the part that gets us every single time.
I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts in people's hearts, but I don't see myself being queen of this country.
Did we forget another heartbreaking interview? Let us know in the comments below.
And there had been this delay dealing with all of that over 40 plus years. And I realized in that moment, oh, damn.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.